All right, so tonight we're joined by Jason Zsebik. He is part of the Lake Erie Walleye Trail, and you guys fish the team events on there. It looks like in this last, as far as the Cleveland Championship, you guys finished ninth. So welcome. Glad you could join us.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, exactly. So, obviously we've got some topics to get to, but how was your fishing season?
Man, the fishing here is outstanding. Fishing's been good, but if you look behind me, you can see some trusses and some new metal. So I've been pretty busy putting up a barn. Just built a new house. It's been a good year. I'm excited for next year. Hopefully, having a little bit more time to be able to dedicate to it. But all in all, man, it's been good, man. You can't beat Lake Erie. The fishing is outstanding, and if you ain't been here yet, you should come.
Yeah, I know Chad's probably been there, but I haven't.
No, I have not. No, I
Never
lived
been.
for many years, but I've been out in Washington now for the last 10 years. But no, I never made it over to Erie. Spent a lot of time in going up north to Lake Winnipeg back in 2006 to 12 before I left. Never, so that grabbed me, and it never made the trip over to Erie. So, but I gotta say this. I always hear that the best, and I think you're right. Overall, you guys have the best, but you can't beat a Columbia River walleye.
Nah, sure. Yeah, that's not fair. That's not fair.
Say that, but you guys do have the best overall. But man, these fish out here. This is why I moved out here, man. I mean, it's crazy. But overall, I've been wanting to fish one of your guys' tournaments out there. It's just that's such a damn drive for us out here. It's nearly impossible,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what we could do is seeing as how you do work for a boat company, right?
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, we got some boats that come out of Washington. So if you just hook one up and drag it over here for you, it might help cover some fuel costs.
Are you with Warrior?
So we sell Warriors, but we sell Hughes Crafts, which are made in Colville, Washington.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
They're very popular out here. There's more Hughes Crafts than anything, probably.
Seems like it.
Popular around us too now. I mean, it's a great boat. Great boat. Guys love them.
Yeah, especially in the wintertime, because out here, we fish year round, and I'm assuming I've never had a boat with a canopy and a canvas that you can tuck under it, but I'm guessing those guys are pretty happy in January when we're out there in our tillers and whatever windshield boats trying to fish.
Yeah. They're happy. I'm slightly jealous. But hey, teach their own.
Yeah, exactly. So give us some history as far as how long you've been fishing this tournament trail and, how you got started in it.
So I guess, in the scheme of things, really not that long. Probably 2016 started dabbling, like really in this trail. Done smaller tournaments, forever. But so 2016 just kind of got started slow. The last 3-4 years, we fished basically what we call the entire circuit. It's early bird sign up. So you sign up in January, you pick I think it's 5 tournaments or whatever, and they let you go through the years to fish for team of the year, which there's some incentive to do. But yeah, we'll say since 2016, really started dabbling.
Gotcha. No, that's good. So let's just kind of get into the meat of this thing, because obviously, the big news, finding weights and fish. I mean, I know obviously where there's a will, there's a way. People are going to figure out some way to cheat. And, I look at this thing and I go, you either have to have the balls of freaking, bowling balls to be able to try and pull something like this off. And at some point in time, that obviously this isn't the first time, because you're thinking you're not going to get caught.
They're pretty comfortable, yeah.
Yeah, that seems that way for sure, which is unfortunate. But yeah, it's just, I don't even. I mean, it's really almost. I'm speechless at this point because it's all I've talked about since Friday. But
Right.
you know, it was shocking. Like it was shocking. Obviously, um, you think when guys are cheating, you know, there's all kinds of ways, right? But I mean, this is kind of like just kind of barbaric almost. Like it's kind of, you know, they could have been doing this back in whenever. I mean, lead weight's been around forever, right? So, um, you know, I don't know. It's just it was a surprise. I mean, it was a surprise the way it was done. When you looked at the fish and saw the weight, you know, and when they cut them open, that, you know, wasn't really a surprise, just because you could tell that, you know, something was awry for sure.
Well,
Did
yeah.
some,
I mean, when
did somebody actually have? I was reading on your team page or on the tournament page, website for LEWT, that it's a $500 protest fee. Did somebody actually have to step up, or did the fact that the tournament director felt something going on, did he just say, "All right, hold on a second"?
Yeah, I can't. I was cleaning the boat up kind of when I was walking up when it happened, but I, I don't think that anybody had to, just because it kind of happened rapidly, and I think everybody was pretty obvious. Like when I was walking up from the boat, like they were kind of holding the fish up, right? So I could see, and then there was some grumblings, and nobody was clapping, and I was like, yeah, and I kind of looked, and I was like, oh yeah, this is, you know, there's something funny going on here, and it just kind of went, you know, pretty quick, really, for that type of situation. I think Jason was kind of like, I need to do something, but trying to think his way through getting it done the right way. But yeah, it's crazy.
You know, the crazy thing about it is the fact that they were the last ones, because, like, let's say they were mid pack,
Sure.
that never would have happened, right? So the fact that they weighed in last, there was an opportunity to figure this out, you know, because let's say they were the first to weigh in, or the fifth or 10th, you're probably not going to stop everything and do what happened. So it was actually really fortunate that these guys got caught being the last team, you know,
Sure.
because they were running for team of the year
Right.
and everything. And that's the ironic part, is all that cheating put them in a position to get caught.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at, karma, basically.
Sure. Yeah. It's you know, the one guy, he tucked his tail and went pretty quick, and the other guy stood up there and took his berating that he certainly earned.
Oh, he was
And
frozen.
yeah.
He was really frozen.
Yeah. I mean, what do you say, right? I mean, what do you say? The evidence
right.
is
Yeah.
damning, you know. I mean, it's damning.
Yep.
Yeah. It just surprised me that he stood there, and I guess stood there as long as what he did and did not move. I'm thinking, yeah, like you said, he must have just been froze with fear or
Fear.
shame or something.
Yeah.
You guys got some big dudes in your group. I saw a couple big boys standing there by him, and luckily you guys handled it perfectly. I mean, Jason, I know he beat himself up a little bit on that. He let out some expletives, but man, when he
Yeah.
did everything right. I mean, he was warranted to act the way he did, because, you know, you're putting all this work into setting these tournaments up, and you got some or two guys that are diluting the whole thing. He did everything fine. So he seems like he's about as good as it gets when it comes to a tournament director. He handled it perfectly, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he was obviously emotional, but everybody was, right? So, and yeah, you know,
And
he could probably, if you don't make, if he ever wants to give up law enforcement, he could probably head to the MLB, because he was ready to throw that guy out with the best of the best of the umpires in the MLB. So,
yeah,
but he's just upset, right? And he earned that response.
Sure.
yeah.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. So obviously, with all the emotions that were going on and everybody that was gathered around, you know, and you know, you can't really see anything from the videos. You get segments of videos. Did they ever say anything?
No.
They didn't, you know, like, oh man, you know, I'm so sorry. Or, I mean, I guess it probably doesn't matter at that point in time, but
Right.
I mean, some sort of response.
No.
Yeah, no, at least when I was so, this all happened, and I'm the one that stepped up and spoke to Jay, and I was like, we need to kind of slow down here and make sure we do this stuff right. But, the one guy stood up there, he kind of stood over by me and Jay there for a little while because he was told not to go anywhere, and but no, nothing ever said, when I was around. So, and then it kind of got busy for me too there after that, but yeah, nothing is shocking.
So at some point in time in the video, and I don't know if this is because of what happened, but you hear sirens in the background.
Yeah.
So was that
No.
response to that? I mean, that couldn't have been timed any better.
More
Yeah.
car.
No, yeah. No, it wasn't, honestly. I spoke to the guys that showed up there, and they were on their way to another call. In fact, he was like, they didn't even make it to the other call, and they turned around and came back. But yeah, no, it was just about perfect timing, but no, unrelated completely.
And that was basically just for protection of those two, right? To have those presents there.
No, I mean, of course, right? There's a bunch of guys that were pretty upset, but I think really a shout out to the guys. I mean, for as mad as they were, I mean, that could have spiraled pretty quick. One guy makes a bad decision and then everybody's making bad decisions, but they all handled themselves as good as can be expected, right? So, but the law enforcement was called because, we were looking to make a police report on what had just happened. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So how does that come down as far as the reporting goes? Obviously there's different divisions. I mean, it looked like those were probably local, maybe city police, but
Yeah.
this is going to be taken over by the DNR.
Yeah, so initially who came out, we were at Gordon Park Ramp there, which is handled by Cleveland Metro Parks. So it was Metro Parks that had the initial response. So the Metro, I don't know if they're called Rangers or whatever, but they came out, and then ODNR, the Division of Wildlife, came out, and I think he's taken over basically the investigation there.
Now, yourself being law enforcement, I know that there's some legalities we have to be careful with as far as investigation, but is there any word on what the charges may be?
Yeah, so they just reported on the news today. It looks like they're thinking of attempted grand theft or attempted theft by deception. So
Nice.
because they didn't physically take the money, right? Because they were caught before they took the prize. That's where the attempt would come in, obviously. So it's still felony charges because the amount of money that was potentially going to be won, and not something you want to be messing with.
No, now I was reading too that there was something that came out that maybe in order for them to avoid jail time, that if there's confessions to other cheating allegations, that's how they could avoid jail time.
Yeah, first I've heard of that, to be honest with you. I don't.
There's so much.
I don't even know I don't know if that to me that seems like to avoid jail time just to admit your wrongs is, being in law enforcement, that's a little tough to swallow. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see what shakes out. Let the prosecutors look at it.
And that's the big. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chad.
No, I was just gonna say there's so much inaccuracy right now on what actually happened.
Oh, sure.
I wanted to get somebody that was there because I've heard so many different, like, a lot of the screenshots are saying there's scissors or pliers, and that's not true. There were not pliers in the stomachs. Like when I heard that, I'm like, no, that didn't happen. That was actually his pliers that he was using. It was a Leatherman or something he was using to cut open. So there's all kinds of misconception. What the actual amount they would have won, that's been misrepresented multiple times. First place was 8,000, but there was contingencies, so they could have won 28,000 is what the number I heard if they would have got away with it.
Yeah, that's real accurate because they would have had team of the year, which was 10. They would have had the tournament, which was 8 or maybe a little better. They would have probably had. I think they would have had Big Fish, which is probably another 1,000 or 2. They would have had Ranger Cup, which is $7,000. plenty of money, you know.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. And so
Well,
you guys have Ranger bonuses for every victory, and so every tournament they've won, that would have been their fourth. So they've been getting some pretty good $25,000 victories or something in that range every tournament they've been winning. I'm just throwing a number out there, hoping you can correct me because we don't really know.
Yeah. So payouts depend on how many boats. Ranger Cup has to have a certain number of boats, and I'm not real sure what that number is. I'm a Warrior guy myself, but most of our tournaments will qualify for Ranger Cup. I know they want a couple out towards the eastern end of the lake, and I'm not real sure what the turnout was for there. I was at work for all those. But yeah, nonetheless, I mean, you're right. I mean, we'll just call it 15,000 as opposed to 25. We'll call it 15,000 a tournament that they had potential to win.
Right, and then with the history of the fall, there's two events that are held on Erie with the big fish prize. There's the fall brawl, and what's the other one called?
Walleye Slam.
Slam.
Yep. And they had one fish last year and I do remember hearing about this, and I also remember it suddenly just not being talked about, like because out here we during COVID we had a lot of our tournaments shut down too, so we started doing all kinds of goofy stuff. We were doing big fish monthly contests, and so we were always saying, because we always usually every month we'd have a 15+ pound fish win it. I mean, their fish out here are huge. And we were always keeping an eye on the Erie contest. And I remember seeing that one 29.5 incher, and it was 12, almost 13 pounds. And look, it is possible to catch a 29.5 inch fish that's 12, 13 pounds. I've seen it, but they don't look like that fish looked. Like, they're thick all the way through. And when I saw that picture of that fish, I'm like, man, that does not look right. And then you looked at second place, third place, fourth. They were all 32-inch fish. And so right there, I'm like, well, who knows? I assumed that they had some sort of a way of checking for heavy metals, but apparently that's not part of that process. I bet it's going to change. But it just disappeared from those guys' names just disappeared from that list, but they still ended up winning one of the boats. Was it the Ranger?
Slam. It was a Slam. It was a Warrior.
And the other one, they got DQ'd for failing a polygraph test. So that kind of started the all right, something's not right with these guys. And then they went on a tear this year. And, by the response of all the tournament anglers, everybody knew something wasn't right. And that was just simply from the reaction when Jason cut that fish open and everybody screaming. So it was just everybody knew, it seemed like. It didn't seem like there was a single person that thought, yeah, these guys are just really good.
Excuse me. Yeah. To touch on the fish, pictures of fish, I can go out there and catch a real nice 4-pounder and stick it out in front of the camera, and you might think it's 8, right? So, and that goes both ways, but we do. I mean, it's not like you said. It's not impossible or unheard of for a 12-pound, 29-inch fish out here, especially in the winter or fall, I should say, because they're just fat. They're just gorging themselves. But that stuff. That stuff's water over the bridge really at this point. But the reaction of the guys from the tournament there, it's so mostly in our tournaments we're trolling for walleye in open water, right? So not that you don't have to be in the right spots and know what to do, but it's not like I don't want to say it's not skilled. But at some point it's really a lot of luck, right? And I can just say that, when you got the guys that have been fishing this tournament for years, and a lot of guys a lot longer than me out there next to we're all by each other. We're real close. There's probably, if there's 80 boats, there's probably a consistent 15 to 20 of us that seem to always end up in the same spot and, trying to get the bites and, spend some time looking for the fish before the tournament, whatever. But for somebody to consistently beat all the guys that have been doing this for so long and trolling in open water, it's
Right.
you gotta be pretty lucky.
Right. So, because you guys are all fishing the same fish, and this goes
That's it.
like the NWT tournament that John Hoyer won. You know, we talked to him a few weeks back. He wasn't trolling, so
Sure.
it made like he's on a completely different bite. And so, yeah, what you said makes complete sense because you got 25 to 50 guys that are well versed on Lake Erie, pulling cranks or whatever you're pulling in the same area. You're not going to have one boat that's got 5 fish that are 2 pounds heavier than anybody else's fish. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
You
Yeah.
can't. So I can see why you guys were very suspicious, and it makes me think that these guys. Well, let's a little bit of history because everybody like myself, we've been trying to figure out who are these guys in the last couple of days, and you can't really figure that out because everything is diluted with what just happened. So maybe you can talk to like how long these guys had been fishing your circuit. And from what I saw, it was just the last couple years. I didn't see any history from 5, 6, 7, 4 years ago at all on your website.
Yeah. So the one guy, honestly, just heard of him last year. I had no idea who he was prior to last year. The other guy, his name had been bopping around some inland tournaments for a little while, and I can't really contest to how long that was going on, but maybe known his name for 2-3 years. And then as far as fishing our circuit, they didn't really show up until last year, like you said. I mean, we just didn't see them for forever. So, but yeah, I mean, that even makes it a little bit more, what were the intentions, but
Right.
I can't really speculate and don't want to, but it's a tough tournament, man. It's a tough tournament, and just to show up and just show out like that, can't say that I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
it's one thing when you're sitting there and you go, okay, look. Well, for one, the interesting fact was they only needed 16 pounds, so they doubled their weight that they needed. You didn't even have to do that, and that's the sad part about it. You didn't have to do it, and you still probably would have won. So what are your emotions? Or the people that you're close to? How are your emotions as far as that goes? I mean, you go, come on, man.
Yeah, I think at this point, yeah, they'd have won Team of the Year, but I mean, it's probably wasn't earned, right? So,
Right.
I don't know how I feel about that. Here's how I've been telling it with guys. Like, look at a bank robber. Sometimes you get away with it once, right? And this is just talking about what I do for a living, right? Sometimes they get away with it. They really do. I mean, it's not impossible, not often that they get away with it, but sometimes they get away with it. But it's the ones that go back to the trough 2 and 3 times, you're getting greedy. And I think that's where we're at. And I think too that, Erie being Erie, they probably just thought there's a lot of good sticks in that and somebody was going to catch them. It was a tough bite. I mean, I hadn't been out fishing in a while just because of work and whatnot, but we had small craft advisories for a couple days before the tournament. I mean, the weather is really just taking a turn for the colder. Some guys are saying the lake flipped. I couldn't tell you. I haven't been out there enough to know, but I can tell you the water was 66 degrees out there. There was a lot of reasons for those fish not to just be in a negative light, right? I mean, they just got pounded. We're talking 7-8 footers for a couple of days. And then the day after our tournament, it was going to be that bad again. And it was rough during the tournament. So, but even with all that said, when you're fishing in that tournament, you're just like, somebody's going to catch them. Somebody's going to catch them. And I think they probably they just didn't know where 33 pounds would let them lay. You know what I mean? I think I can't even think or say what they were thinking, but in my mind, it's like, 33 pounds, maybe top 5 for sure. You know what I mean? In that situation, but to blow everybody out of the water, I mean, I think a majority of the field probably didn't even weigh a fish.
Wow.
And yeah, it's just, half the field at least didn't probably weigh a fish or, something like that. But
a one-day event because I couldn't find the printout on it. It was a
Supposed
1
to
day.
be 2. Yeah, it was supposed to be 2, but before we even launched Friday morning, they had already called for a small craft on starting Saturday morning at whatever 5 in the morning through Monday. So it was over. We would have fished Saturday if it was wasn't good Saturday. Would have fished Sunday, but they already had called a small craft for through Monday, so it was over after 1 day.
So here's one thing, Lonnie. I don't know if you caught on this, but and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they had won before this event 3 tournaments hosted by LEWT, and this would have been 4 in a row. And watching Jason Fisher talk to Ike and Ellie this morning, and they put a camera boat on these guys, Runyan and Cominsky. They put a camera boat on their boat. Was it Geneva? Was that the tournament?
Yeah, I think so. I wasn't there, but I'm pretty sure it was the Geneva tournament. I think you're right.
So these guys had took a lot of heat from other anglers, and obviously justifiable heat. And what Jason Fisher was saying, that he was actually kind of happy because he got a text message from the guy Cameron, filming their day, saying they're crushing it. They have a huge bag, and that's the one big question mark in my head. It's like, what the heck happened there? And I hope that's at some point cleared up, because it sounds to me like the only opportunity they would have had to do their little stuffing job would have been possibly on the boat ride in, or maybe the cameraman when he jumps out of the boat. Who knows? And that's maybe they, and who knows? I don't believe it for 1 second that these guys have ever won a tournament, ever. So that's just my personal opinion. There is no chance that, let's say I've never won a tournament and I win one legally. Like, I do everything in the books, I win it, I'm happy as could be. There is zero chance that person is going to start cheating after they've won one legit. That's just the way I feel about this. So, because I know there's been some talk about, were any of these wins legitimate? I cannot see how that's possible, because if you've won one legitimate, you're not going to, and I can't put myself in their shoes. These guys are obviously thinking way off of any normal tournament angler guys' thought process, but that doesn't make sense. So they found a way to cheat, and there's been, through the history of tournaments, this is definitely, I heard something today I've never heard. Back in about 2000, there was a bass angler that was literally planting like tubs. His name was Tony, I can't remember the last name, Christensen or Tony Christian, and big FLW bass events. So this guy was planting, like, let's say like a 3-foot tub, like a Rubbermaid tub with, I don't know if it was clear, but I'm thinking it had to have been for what he did. But he was cutting like an X in the top of this tub Rubbermaid that was stiff enough to where these fish couldn't just swim out of it. But what he did is he pulled up to a dock and flipped into the same spot and caught 5 big fish. He was actually flipping his jig, and I'm assuming that this tub was kind of sloped, so he could, as long as he hit that tub, he could kind of finagle that jig into the cage. And these fish hadn't eaten for whatever, a day or so, and they actually ate. And then he would set the hook, and this little X that he cut would open up, and these fish would come out, and they would close back up. Like, I had never heard that story until today, and Ike and Ellie actually told that, and I was just like, you have got to be kidding me. So, but it actually happened. So there are ways that people have figured out to do that, and they, I assume, always get caught, maybe not, but how these guys were pulling off this whole lead thing, they obviously had to be by themselves. But the one thing as a tournament guy, when you hear somebody cheating in a tournament, this is not what you think. Like, you don't even fathom that somebody's stuffing even one of them weights into a fish. When I hear they were suspected of cheating, I'm always thinking, well, were they running an extra line? Were they not pinching their barbs when they're supposed to? Are they getting information during the tournament? But this is so far beyond what you would expect. That's why it's went viral. Is these guys are complete idiots, which I think they are. I think this is just me. They're complete idiots. They're probably a bunch of spoiled brats that have had everything handed to them their entire life. And I have no problem saying this, but that's the way I feel about these guys. And I'm so happy for you guys to get them idiots out of your circuit. And it's going to build your guys' circuit because definitely brought you guys as a group together tight. Like, I'm assuming that you guys are so happy that this is over with, that you've gotten rid of and nobody's going to come into this circuit and try to pull anything now. So
I wouldn't think so.
This effed up as this was for you guys, the way that you handled it, every one of you, it couldn't have been better. It really couldn't have. And I hope that these guys fry, and I hope somehow they find themselves in jail, and I hope that they have every fishing and hunting right removed from them. And I really hope that the guys that finish second place to them somehow can get some retribution. I don't know, that this world is so messed up with stuff like that. Who knows? Maybe they're just happy that it's over and then these guys are out of it. But still, there's got to be a lot of animosity towards these guys that let's just say one of those guys has never won a tournament, and it's probably the case. One of those second place guys has been waiting his whole life to win a tournament, and these shitheads come in and pull that. Well, that's the guy I feel bad for, and I hope that somehow that can be made right. But who knows? And is it possible that happened? I mean, are there some second place guys that are are like steaming over this, or are they just okay letting it go? These guys are gone now. We can have fun again.
Yeah, I mean, so like to be honest, the guys that ended up winning this tournament, it might be ignorant on me, but I don't really know who they are, right? Haven't seen them around, so I'm pretty sure that's first time winning a LEWT for them right there was, when this broke out. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, of course, you just got to think about every time that they had finished and, you finished below them, it's suspect in your head, right? Like, it's just natural human response. It's like, oh, did they do that one? For sure. Right. Was that legit? And sitting here right now, like, me personally, even, it's hard to believe it was. You know what I mean? And not that I don't think that they couldn't go out there and catch fish. It's just like that. Just after something like this happens, it's it's just you can't give them the benefit of the doubt, and they haven't earned it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and the crazy thing is that, and maybe I'm ignorant on this because I haven't seen it, but I think this is the first time that this has ever actually been caught this way. So, it was recorded. There's people around, and that's the thing too with this day and age. You've got so many cell phones out there. You've got so many cameras. You've got everybody recording, and to have this caught the way it was, I mean, it just exploded, and good on that, because that exposes what this kind of crap is, and that's exactly what it is. This bullshit, and people shouldn't be so naive to think that this doesn't happen, and this is the only time it happens, because when you've got somebody that either wants something so badly or they're God, what's the word I'm looking for other than just calling them an idiot? If they've got that will to do so, they're going to figure out a way to cheat, and it's so funny too, because I've heard so many different ways of how people could cheat with all this that's come out, freezing water in a torpedo shape and shoving it down a fish, so that it ends up melting, so that, there's no trace of what that weight could have been. I never in a million years would I have ever thought of that. And I'm thinking, maybe it's not such a good thing because these things are coming out and people will hear it. But, at the same time, you just go, I mean, okay, here's something else I was looking at. So the first time that I saw this was Friday, I think. You know, sitting there at dinner, it pops up on my phone. And the first picture that I saw was of Cominsky and Runyan standing up holding their fish, right? So they're taking that photo op. The first thing I looked at was Cominsky's face.
Yeah.
And the look on his face was almost so telling as to say, either at that point he knew.
Yep.
It was almost like it was like a guilt.
He knew they put too much weight in there, I think. When he saw what everybody else was weighing. So what was second place for big bag of the day? Or the guy that won it? You know what he had?
Yeah, I think it was like 28 pounds.
Okay, so 5 pounds more.
Yeah,
Right.
which is possible. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Especially on Erie on a tough bite. But yeah, no, like you're saying, it's when they held him up, and that's pretty much a reaction always. You know, that I've seen out of them. You know, just kind of like no big deal, been there, done that. You know, pretty arrogant. And I mean, if you've seen some of the YouTube videos that are out there, free fishing going on, I mean,
Oh yeah,
that's special.
That right there told me everything I needed to see, because man, I could be on the best fish I've ever been on, and there is no chance I would talk like that.
No,
I've seen bites shut down. So that was so there's two different ones. There's one where they're like sitting in a loft. I saw that, and he was talking about we won this tournament last year, and we won it again this year doing the exact same thing. And then there was the one where he's in the boat right before this last tournament, and literally saying, I don't mean to be cocky and arrogant, but we're gonna win this, or we're gonna do good, we're gonna win this. And he said, and I'm sure this is gonna live with him forever, winners win.
Oh boy. Yep, cheaters cheat too, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that all that makes it so, and all of that tied up makes me happy that this happened to these guys, because these are the lowest of the low type of people that we despise. Like, but that little video clip of him talking like that, sitting back in his chair, being all cocky, that was pretty telling, because man, you can be the best walleye fisherman. You better not talk like that, because it'll bite you in the ass just from the, you know, if you believe in karma, but
Right.
you cannot be that confident in fishing tournaments. I mean, I've never been anywhere near that confident. Doesn't matter if I'm on the greatest bite ever. So there was so much that was shady about this. So I can see why these guys just lost their shit when he cut them open, because it was just that point, like, we finally caught him, and that's the way it would happen anywhere. But it could have been way worse, like you said. I mean, you guys did handle it right, and the fact that Jason is a cop, that was a good thing. And because you know, you guys were thinking with a little bit clearer head because of your background, and kept everything calm, and it wouldn't have turned out good if it would have fist flying. If these guys would have got beat down to the ground, then none of this would be happening. Now, then we would have been the bad, you know.
That's right. And then how terrible, like, now the story's perfect as it can be for the story, is they look terrible, everybody else looks bad. You know, if they would have beat them up out there, you know, now it's all, look at these crazy, you know, it just does nothing good for the industry, period.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this isn't about that. You know what I mean? It's not about beating somebody up. It's not about cheating. It's about fishing, you know, and it's fortunate that we have the group of guys that we have that were able to do, you know, handle themselves the way that they did.
Yep. And it's also about the community. I mean, I'm sure you guys got a tight knit community. I know there was a tournament. I think it was the same one. I think it was the one before where they had a little kid that had leukemia. Was a little 7-year-old kid that loves fishing, and we've had the children's hospital tournament where we've donated. I think one year it was $20,000. You know, because most of us, you know, like some have said, we don't care if we win $5,000. Most, I mean, it's great. It'll cover some of the bills for the tournaments, but the right way to do it is these community type events, or donating to a children's hospital like this, like you guys are doing. So, and then when you have some slime balls involved with it, man, it's just, those guys, I don't know how they sleep at night, people like that, but everything is going to be good from here out because they're out of there. And like I said, nobody's going to walk into your guys' circuit now and try to pull anything shady. So it's weird how that kind of is going to end up. But
Yeah. No,
I mean, you don't want to thank those guys, but and it's not I don't know how to explain that. It's not a good thing, but you know, it is what it is. And they're going to pay the repercussions the rest of their lives, man. I can't imagine these guys.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how they're going to live their daily lives. And I've heard, I'm not going to get into there's already some background stories on one of the guys, and it just looks like they are exactly what they're being portrayed as.
Yeah, I saw too. I saw, locally, I don't know if it's making it out there or not, but there's, the sponsors that they had, there's a whole bunch of them that are, we didn't even know that logo was on their jersey,
Right.
all kinds of stuff. And I can speak for the place that I work at. I work at Erie Marine Sales part-time too. And I noticed there was a logo of that on their jerseys. Well, we don't sell Rangers, and I ain't real sure what they bought from us. But anyways, I don't know. It was special, but going back to like winning it, like how could you? I haven't won a lot, but I've won a few, right? So, but when I win, it's pretty exciting. But if if I was going up there filling them full of lead and winning like that, my reaction would probably be the same that theirs was, just kind of stand there holding the fish up,
Yeah.
like.
Here's what you do. I saw that guy. You go like this.
Oh yeah, is that it? Yeah.
3 or 4 photos, and this is what he's doing in the trophy presentation. Going like,
yeah.
how you react? Like
Yeah.
even Dan, my partner, he barely ever cracks a smile. Underneath his beard, he's smiling when we do good. You don't walk up there and
Right.
how you react. So you're right, Lonnie. I mean, when you look at the way those guys were on the stage, when they knew they were in trouble. They knew that this. I assume they knew that this was the end of the line. Maybe there's some chatter going around. I heard some of the guys in the way. I mean, we know what a 30-pound bag looks like, and almost a 34-pound bag. So when that number came, you could hear some talking, and I think that was when they knew they were fucked right there.
Yeah.
The masses were coming for them.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to what Jason was saying right there, I mean, for one, how could you ever feel good about winning something like that? I don't get it. I mean, there's no way that you could go home and say, all right, yeah, we won, knowing that you did that.
They're a different breed.
Yeah, that's it. They just they're wired different. I mean, they have to be. They just have to be wired what we are. But
something.
Not that $30,000 isn't a lot of money, right? I mean, it's a lot of money, but in the scheme of things out there, you got nowadays you got $100,000 truck, $100,000 boat. You know what I mean? And let's take away the championship where the money's more in maybe it's 8-10 grand or whatever. I mean, to me, this is obviously fishing career, if you even want to say they had one, that fishing career ending. But in my line of work, like this would be career. If I went and did what they did, I would get fired from my job, my law enforcement job, right? Like that's, so to me, like all of this for a little bit of money in the long run, and you've lost it all. I mean, it's shocking. It's shocking.
That's a good question for you, because most of us have no idea what these guys do for a living. Is that something you know?
I have no idea.
Really?
Yeah.
It's always like I mean, they obviously have some income because they're running some pretty nice gear.
Sure.
So, but yeah, whatever they do for a living, man, unless they're self-employed, they are. Well, even if they're self-employed,
I was going to say that's almost worse.
Their names are trash, man, and they deserve it too, man. I wouldn't spit on them if they were on fire, man. I hate people like that. I mean, it's
I mean, Jesus, if you're self-employed, who's going to go to you to do anything? Thinking that you're going to rip them off. I mean, you're almost better off to be employed somewhere so you can go get a job flipping burgers somewhere.
it shows their true character. Whatever they do for a living, they're shady at that too. So every aspect of these guys' lives, I feel bad if they have kids, man, because unfortunately, a lot of kids that have parents like that go right down the same path, and maybe that's why their path is that way. Maybe they had I don't have a clue, but I'm just this is just my human nature of living for 47 years. I see people that had bad parents turn out to be bad. I see people with good parents turn out to be good. Doesn't always work out that way, but 99% of the time it does. So, hopefully these kids, if they have kids, can figure out, not to be like old dad was.
Right. Yeah, I'll tell you what, going into next year, I'm just glad it's over. I'm glad it's a relief. We can kind of get back to fishing, bringing, and how does this look trying to get new guys into the circuit? I mean, we're growing pretty quick, and who knows how fast we're going to grow now, because if you would have told me last week that we'd be on Fox or TMZ or whatever, I'd have been like, that's not going to happen. But, it's I'll be happy when it's all over, but I'm glad that the speculation is gone.
Right. Do you guys are all your tournaments are team format? You don't have any wild card ones like similar to NWT where they have a pro and a co?
No, yeah, we just did. So the early bird, like the main Lake Erie Walleye Trail, and he has like an open division now too, where you kind of have as many guys on the boat as you want, and it's kind of like a normal fun tournament, I guess we'll call it. But yeah, no, the main one is just 2-man, same guy, same partner, for the whole year.
So what's that kayak division?
That's pretty cool, huh? Those guys are out there. Yeah. Kayaking's really
kayak win the whole thing.
They could. So they have a kayak division that they start. There's one guy, Chuck Earls. He decided at the beginning of the year that he was going to enter in his kayak and fish against us in our division, and so it's kind of just caught on, and some more kayaks are getting into it and stuff. So I mean, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, if you signed up to fish in our division and you were in a kayak, God bless you, and you won, boy, I'll tell you what, I'd hold you up on the shoulders, because that'd be a heck of a feat, But but it's not possible. I'm here to tell you, those boys can fish.
Oh yeah, man. So there's a guy over in Europe that I watch that fishes for Xander named Tommy Blomander, and he fishes out of this kayak, man. And this dude, he's got live scopes set up in his kayak, and these are legitimate 40-inch Xander that he's catching in his kayak. But he's got a rig. But Lake Erie is definitely not somewhere where I would think you're having a kayak.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly
far out, I'm assuming.
Yeah, you ain't gonna. I mean, you got it can turn bad fast. So they're smart about it, and you
out for each other too.
Absolutely. Yeah, but I mean, hey, not for me, but it's pretty cool though to see them out there competing.
Yeah, well, You're getting more people. How are you guys going about getting more new anglers into your circuit?
So, I mean, really, it's word of mouth. Like, I think guys just, local guys just kind of see what's going on over the years here, and like, I want to be a part of that and whatnot. And I think, obviously stuff like you guys are doing, getting different people out there looking at it, and COVID, man, just being in boat sales part-time, I can't tell you how many new people have come out and bought brand new boats to go fishing, and they buy maybe an entry level boat, and next thing you know, they're like, man, I saw this, these tournament guys, or we saw these Warriors or Rangers flying by. What's that about? And it's just people getting into it, and I mean, that's super exciting. But as far as how it's going to grow from here, man, I don't know. I mean, I don't think we're going to go backwards. No. I think the group of guys that we have, everybody's going to be happy now. You know what I mean? And not that they weren't unhappy before. It's just that, or they were, not that they were unhappy before, but I think that, there was obviously, we had, the elephant in the room there, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, this thing could, who knows? I don't even know.
Right.
at this. I mean, it's just you can't call it.
So we've been.
Jason,
Go ahead, Lonnie.
well, I was going to ask him a question about that because Fisher obviously doesn't fish any of the tournaments. I mean, he's just the director of the circuit. That's one thing that we're kind of struggling with out here as far as the circuit that we have. We don't have one central organization that runs it all. They're run by, let's say a Columbia River Walleye Club or Lake Roosevelt Walleye Club. So each one of them puts on an event, and then it's what we consider the Washington Walleye Trail, or whatever we want to classify it. And that's kind of one thing that we've talked about and discussed, is how we could get it to grow, because right now, it used to be that we would get 100, 125 boats in a tournament. Now we struggle to get 35 to 40. And I think that is one thing. Governing body, is that how you guys have it?
You broke up there for the last part. Broke up for me.
He was saying that, like, do you have a governing body that is separate from the tournament anglers?
No, yes, we don't. Jason purchased the Lake Erie Walleye Trail, which is the WBSA, from some guys that had it for years. And so Jason's really it. Now he has his team of guys, and he obviously, like, Jason used to fish them. So he was fishing them before he owned it, obviously. That's kind of where me and him met. And he's in the boat. He works for Vic's Boat Center. So part-time as well. So he does the Ranger stuff. So there's a friendly competition between Warrior and Ranger guys on Lake Erie anyways. So, we talk a bunch of trash to each other about each other's boats, of course. But yeah, so Jason was fishing it before. Then when he bought it, obviously you can't fish it and run it at the same time, because it's grown quite a bit since Jason had control over it. But he pulls the guys, like, he'll talk to all of us that have been around it for a while, and just get ideas of here's what I'm thinking, here's what I'm not thinking, this is what I want to change. He's real open. I mean, he's a great dude, easy to get along with, friend of mine. So going forward though, like, and as far as to grow them, I think for us, we're pretty fortunate because there's over 80 million walleye out here, and I'm just down the road from the lake right now. So, our fishing can make a bad fisherman seem good too, at this point. So, but yeah, I mean, growing them, I think new times, right? And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but stuff like this, like things where people can go scrolling through the internet and find out, like, maybe people didn't even know what walleye fishing was. And, I pretty much guarantee you somebody's going to go walleye fishing that saw this, that's never been walleye fishing before this, because they learned about it, and
Right.
I
think it's just the way of the world now.
Right.
Yeah.
And
for
a
sure.
lot of time between next, I would assume there's going to be this is going to change tournaments in every division, like walleye, bass, crappie. Like, this is an eye opener that there are people like those two idiots that are going to try to pull stuff, and it's going to tighten the reins on tournament fishing. It should.
Yeah.
Because you hope you don't have anybody in your group. I mean, most tournament, like, I consider we're down to the numbers of what I consider a league night. When you get 30 to 40 boats, it's my opinion, that's just, like I say, some league nights are in the 30 to 40 boats. So, it stinks that we've gotten to that point, but, we're trying to improve our numbers too. And we're battling on what to do. And then, but the problem is everybody's asking us as tournament anglers, and we're not the ones that need to be answering that question. Like right now, the debate is, do we need to go from 2-day tournaments to 1-day tournaments, which personally, I prefer a 2-day tournament, but I voted for a 1-day tournament because we don't have anybody coming anymore. So why are we going to spend 2 days of gas, 2 days of hotels? And as a tournament guy, that the cream of the crop, the best anglers are typically going to rise on a 2-day tournament versus a single-day tournament where somebody can just have a day of their life and win it. And that's why I want to see our circuit, this is my opinion only, to go to a 1-dayer for now, because our numbers are so low. and it'll lower the costs for the guys that want to get involved, and they have a better shot of winning also versus a 2-day tournament. So have your guys' events always been one day, or did you change something?
Yeah, so our normal events throughout the year are one day, and then the championship is 2. Aside from we do the Masters Walleye Circuit has been coming to Erie at least once a year. So when they come into town, then we automatically make that a 2-dayer. But that's just because theirs is a 2-day. But yeah, if they didn't come, like all of our typical ones are 1 day, and then the championship is 2.
Do you see new guys showing up at tournaments, or is it just the same core group?
Oh no, there's definitely new guys. I mean, there's definitely new guys.
Right.
For sure, new guys. Some guys fall off. And they were
Right.
just in my time of doing it. I've had guys fall off, come back. You know what I mean? But no, there's definitely new guys. It's pretty exciting to see, really. But not that I'm not relatively new to it. You know what I mean? I haven't been doing it that long. But there's guys, like Gary's Art. He's been doing it forever.
Yep.
20 years or better. So I'm sure he's seen a lot more come and go than I have. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot of new faces, guys excited about it. I would say a lot of even young guys, you know what I mean? And even guys that, maybe don't have a Warrior or a Ranger, just fishing it in a boat, you know what I mean? And that's what it's about. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Well, the interesting part too is the fact that, like you were talking about, you've got the person that entered as far as the kayak goes, and now you have a kayak division. That's one thing that as we have a format right now, we couldn't do that because a kayak can't keep 5 to 6 fish alive, and bring them into the way. So, obviously the ones you have over there are kill tournaments, so they don't have to be alive. That goes maybe on to what we talked about before, as far as not necessarily, and I hate to bring this up because I'm going to get so much hate for it, but the fish donkey thing. If you had something like that, catch, record, release, then people in a kayak or a smaller boat, they have that option to be able to fish those 1-day tournaments.
Yeah, I fished some aim style tournaments. I mean, it's not a bad deal, right? I mean, it's just not. And I mean, unfortunately for us, I mean, and fortunately at the same time, because we have so many walleye, but really when it comes to June, it's hard to keep them alive. I mean, because they're 90% of the time they're pretty deep. And even pulling them out of 40 foot of water in, June, like you get them in there in the morning, and then by the time you get to, weigh in, it's just what it is, So the catch, record, release makes it easy, and I'm not promoting that, so I don't need anybody yelling at me or anything like that. But it's a pretty cool idea. I mean, it really is. And but for us, like you said, the kayak guys, basically just throw them on stringers and towing them around. So that's I guess as good as you can get.
Well, you're better off live because they are going to wait for it live. I right?
Well, there's an argument for that. I mean, I've heard it go a whole bunch of different ways, but I've heard if you catch one, like if you're fishing the slam or the fall brawl out here, they say if it's a big one, it's better off dead because then it can't puke nothing up if you're going straight to the weigh station, and if it pukes up a big old shad on the way there and you lose by a couple ounces, it's a sickening feeling when, you're talking about 130, 40, $50,000 boats, a couple of them that you would have won. So.
Yeah. Good point.
That would
so
be a bad deal. You open your live well on perch in there or something. Holy Christ.
Yeah, I know a couple guys that just stuff it back in their mouth, but that's not legal. So,
right. Well, hey, Jason, I appreciate you coming on. I know you wanted to, plug a couple other things. So, talk about what you wanted to talk about.
If you're coming out to Erie this fall, Walleye Slam, win a 238 Warrior. I think we're going to pay out 12 spots, maybe 10 spots. Either way, second place is a good chunk of money. Don't know exactly what it is yet until everybody gets signed up. Fall Brawl, Jason Fisher's other tournament, Big Fish tournament. Definitely get into that. It's like $30, right, to get in each tournament. So no brainer. If you're coming out here, get signed up for that. And if you guys are looking for a boat and you're out my way, come see me at Erie Marine Sales.
There you go. Hey, also, thanks for your service too, for being law enforcement. I appreciate it.
Yeah, in fact, I got to go in and get ready. I got to work tonight.
All right. Hey, thank you. You have a
All
good
right.
one.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.